Welcome in, everybody. Greg's Weekend Rental coming in with news from the comic world, from the video game graded world. CGC has once again raised their prices across the board on literally everything they offer. Comic grading, home video grading, video game grading, all of it. Increased prices to start off 2025. Like, ring in the new year!
Ring in the new year. You can't afford anything anyway.
Seriously, though. So standard comics up another $2. I think that's both standard and vintage are moving from 25 to 27 and 40 to 42 respectively, which is just now awkward pricing. I hate it. Just right, it's like, don't charge me 27 instead of 25. That's such a nickel and dime.
Yeah, it does look like that. It's like, I'd rather it be 30 and pay 5 extra.
Mentally, it's kind of, it's a screw you, CGC, an extra $2. It's one of the video games, though, and home video jumped from 35 to 40. So speaking of that $5 nice increase, that does hurt. $5 on 35 is considerable. The $2 move, I mean, is it going to stop someone from submitting? I doubt it, to be quite honest.
Yeah, probably not.
It probably doesn't matter. With comics especially, CGC is still the premier choice. The highest resale value, the most collector base, the most people install base. CGC, unfortunately, can bully their customers, especially in the comic world. Because what else are you going to... Okay, CBCS exists. I get this. But if CGC is still the company that brings in the most value, has the most collector base, has the most install base, leads the space, you can say, vote with your wallet, don't go with CGC, use a different company. But at that point, you are hurting yourself as well, because you're losing out on resale value. And if you are someone at all who does any kind of reselling, or most people in these hobbies with comics, video games, whatever it is, you're not only a collector, you also are a reseller. Now, you're probably not a reseller as much as you're a collector, but there is some of you that has to move stuff as well. It's impossible, basically, to just be a black hole collector in these hobbies. You have to be moving inventory as well. So if we talk about, oh, well, CGC can't bully if you just don't use them, you almost exclude yourself from the market, though.
Yeah. If you're coming in after the fact and you need to move a few things and they're not CGC graded, it does hurt your bottom line.
So, we're talking about that $2 increase. It's not huge, but okay, you go to CBCS. Let's say you start losing 20% per book. Well, pay the $2.
Yeah.
Like, it's the lesser of two evils.
Yeah, or if you're doing bulk submissions, then get the higher tier membership and get 20% off per grade book.
Well, the memberships also went up in price, of course. That was also jumped. I think the elite one went up $30. The most expensive membership.
Yeah, something
was
like that.
$300. Now what is it? Yeah, $329. Okay, yep. So that jumped. Yeah, $30 there. Yeah. And the one under it jumped by $10 a year, I believe. The premier.
Yeah.
So even those, yes, you can get your discounts again, but an additional $10 respectively for that. At what point? Especially on the comic side, we'll get to it in a second here. With video games, it's interesting because CGC just raised their prices on everything. With comic world, we can say CGC leads it all. They can bully their customers, whatever. Even if a small person leaves, dealers, bulk submissions, whales are what are, I'd say 80-20, the Pareto principle. To get deep on it, the Pareto principle, Jeremy.
Yes, explain that to me, please.
I guarantee that 80% of their submission is from 20% of their things. It might even be a 90-10, because let's be honest, the people sending in thousands of books are who keep CGC running. It's not me and you who might send 5 to 10 books a year.
Yeah.
We don't matter. In the grand scheme, we don't matter.
Yeah, it's very humbling.
Even if that $2 pushes us away or the $5 pushes us away, it does not matter so long as the dealers are still submitting CGC. And if CGC is bringing in the most money, they're all going to still submit CGC.
Yeah.
Period. Regardless of how bad their year was, which this is probably why we're seeing all of these increases in wake of, what was it? The bent books controversy.
Bendgate, yeah.
Yeah, so we got Bendgate. There was the swapping controversy that was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Is there actual lawsuits associated with that one?
That's a good
book swapping.
That's a good question.
I remember they're getting sued either because of the bent books, because of the book swapping, or because something else. They had one hell of a year in comic books.
Yeah, they had some kind of interior theft as well from employees or something. Yeah,
right. Maybe that's the one they're getting sued
that's
for.
The one.
Oh my God, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I do assume they have lost customers. I think that is very easy to say, and that in light of potential lawsuits also existing, they're now saying, okay, we're just going to blanket increase prices to offset, I guess.
Yeah.
You just lose some people, up prices by 10%. Maybe it'll even out in the end.
It makes me wonder though, like the customers they've lost are probably more guys like you and me who would have
I would
submit
assume so.
just a handful of books. Like I doubt the bulk submission dealers really cared.
Until the prices don't follow, you won't lose your bulk submitters. If CGC commands the highest price on the second market, despite everything taking place, which, man, grading companies are given a long leash. They are allowed to screw up a lot of stuff so long as the money keeps flowing. Yeah. And if CGC stays the name, which we'll talk about in a second here, because PSA is going to enter in, which I think could finally be the breaking point for CGC. But so long as the money's flowing, it'll be okay. So in video games, though, it's interesting. They go from $35 to $40. WATA and VGA are the #1 competition here. They are still $50 a game to get graded with. 40 is still cheaper than 50. I will not disagree with that at all. That is, the math is checking out on that. But as we're getting closer now to the WATA VGA pricing, in general, CGC does not command the video game market. Your average CGC graded game probably sells for 10 to 20% less than your average WATA game. But when it comes to bulk submissions, dealers hunting for tens and stuff, with the membership, I think you could get CGC as low as like $28 for submitting a video game, which is, I think when WATA first started in 2018, they were $25. So you were getting CGC at 28. That is, I think VGA back when I was doing it might have been 20, 25. Like that is as low as video game grading has ever cost, period.
Yeah.
So, okay. CGC might have even been underpriced. Maybe we could make that argument. But now that we do raise this $5, in my view, just because they don't command the market like they do with CGC, you will start pricing out your bulk dealers.
Yeah, it's true. And part of me just actually, when I'm looking at graded games on my shelf, I like the new WATA cases better. Disregard the interior blister fiasco we had.
The WATA has their own issues as well. Make no mistake.
Yeah, I mean, no company that operates at that kind of scale is going to be perfect in any way, but I personally prefer the way they look better.
Well, that's where I am. I say WATA and CGC are your 1A, 1B. If you prefer CGC, that's awesome. I don't like the blue label. I don't like the case design as much as I like WATA. And these graded hobbies are an aesthetic hobby as much as anything. Mm-hmm. It's the displaying of art. And if you don't like the case in which your art is being displayed, if you don't like the frame for the artwork...
Yeah, it's like a bad frame, yeah.
Right? Yeah. You can't go with it. You're not going to use it. The $5 jump compared to the $2 jump adds up a lot quicker. 2.5 times as quick, actually, going 2 to 5.
Yeah.
I think that will affect CGC's ability in the video game space to get dealer submissions. I just do, because you can start hunting for WATA 10s, because WATA gives out a lot of coupon codes too.
Right.
You can get 20% off sometimes. You can get 10, 15% off, bringing it down to $44 a submission.
Yeah. And they do have a dealer program as well. Do you know what the discount is on that?
I would assume 10 to 20. I don't know what the actual discount is.
Okay. Yeah.
I would assume 10 to 20.
I would think it would be at least 20, because there seems to be a lot of discount codes.
Yeah, well, that's true, I guess. Yeah, that's true. They probably do at least hit the discount codes if you're going to be submitting hundreds of games.
That's right.
There aren't very many people in the video game world who can. That's the thing with the CGC price increase is, in the video game world, the number of dealers, bulk submitters, whales, and stuff is much, much, much lower.
Well, it's such a much lower population hobby than comic books. I mean, there's... comics take up like no room at all, and
yes,
it's easy to hoard.
It is. It is.
Whereas games, it's like as soon as you have like, I don't know, 10 or 20.
Well, you came over, I had to get that big WATA box out of this room for us to even record.
I know.
And that's only like 12 games, and it's taking up like a 4x4 spot in the room,
No, yeah. It's just, it's not as efficient space-wise of a hobby, for sure.
Not at all.
Yeah.
But I do think we'll start seeing people push towards WATA for the PS5 submissions, your Switch submissions. And I think, at least short term here, it is going to hurt CGC video games. Okay, so speaking about competition here, WATA games could just be like, I don't think they will, but they could just lower prices by $5. Like, imagine, it'd be like when the Dreamcast launched or whatever, and PS2 had their big thing, or Dreamcast had their big thing, we do all this, and PS2 was like $199.99.
Yeah.
Like, right?
Like, you're done.
Yeah, they said nothing else at that conference, if I remember correctly. They just said the price and walked off stage, because it was so much lower than what... It's tough, because these companies don't just compete on price. I get it.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah, there is that after-sale aspect,
yeah, it
as
is.
you said.
Yes. But the price, I think, when we're jumping $5 a submission here, does really affect. But going back to comics here and what we were going to say about competition entering, PSA Comics. Is this where I think we get them 2025, late 2025? How easy is it going to be for them to take over?
That's tough because I mean, I think people had the same kind of viewpoint about CBCS, when it first came out, because it was guys from the original CGC team who kind of did this offshoot, and I mean, they're still in business, obviously, and still doing lots of business, but they haven't managed to overtake market share. But at the same time, it was kind of a brand new thing, whereas PSA is such an established, massive grader right now with cards. It's like to jump into comics seems like a natural extension of their brand.
It's insane they aren't in comics already.
Yeah. It kind of makes me wonder what took so long, but maybe it was the pandemic boom of grading that really enabled them to grow as much as they have.
I guess maybe, yeah, they got so much card volume equity money that they're like, okay, we can finally make the push into comics. Because I think, for the first little bit here, they would be a loss leader. I think if PSA enters in, you can do it with extremely competitive pricing and stuff. You can offer the same thing CGC did when they entered into video games. They were doing a crossover special. It was $25. Crossover your VGA or WATA graded video game. They'll smash it out, put it in a CGC case. They also raised the price of that. That is $40 now.
Oh my God. For a reholder?
Took it for a recasing.
Oh, I guess recasing.
Recasing.
Okay. Recasing.
Again, though, it's a loss leader type of activity.
Yeah.
You are smashing your competition's game and you're offering a discount to do so, to encourage people to get stuff out of the main competitor casing. They now put it up to a normal submission. If I purchase say I'm a big CGC collector. If I want continuity in my collection, maybe I buy a WATA game, a VGA game, now it's $40 just to swap it to CGC. I just think people won't.
Yeah.
When you already have it graded. There's going to be expensive cases, whatever, but your average person, you buy a $70, $80 game, you simply cannot swap it to CGC. The value isn't there. The economics don't make sense anymore.
Yeah.
To just swap. $40 per swap is too expensive.
Yeah, there has to be I think a minimum value on that game to make it financially viable. And I think I like having the option of more graders than less, simply because you sort of get a feel for what every grader does better or what they take more into account. And it's like you can get some kind of wiggle room there where, this game might do better with VGA than CGC, or might do better with WATA than CGC because of the way they grade things.
100%.
So, it kind of encourages that. It's another layer of collecting where you can look at certain graded games like your Smash Melee. It's like you saw that it had potential, right? It had a big sticker.
Yep.
Probably not cleaned. That's kind of the next level besides just buying raw stuff. It's like, look at stuff that's already graded. It's like, okay, is there potential to make that better somehow?
And then now, instead of let's say, you would have reholded to CGC, I'd just go back to WATA games though now. Now it's like, it's $40 to get a retry at CGC. Well, I'll just resub with WATA and try again.
Yeah.
Why bother attempting a cross unless you are 100% confident that CGC will grade differently versus just resubbing to VGA or resub to WATA games. Same price anyway.
Yeah, it's true. I have a question for you. Do you think WATA is hurting themselves by not doing a 9.9?
I think it's part of why CGC is taking a little bit more of that dealer bulk stuff, because getting 9.9s with CGC has become easier.
Yeah.
We see more on PS1 even, and they're selling for a big premium. So in general, I hate the 9.9. I hate it. It's stupid. It feels way too granular, way too niche, way too nuanced. But even with comics now, with CGC using it more, people are going to start resubbing. People are going to start bulk submitting junk, right? That's what a lot of it is. You start bulk submitting junk, hoping for 9.9s and 10s.
Yeah.
Because
you can make your extra $50 on it.
You sell off all the 9.6s, all the 9.8s. Those don't matter. Your 9.9s and your 10s are going to make all of the money of those bulk submissions. And you see it with Beckett looking for black labels. We see it with CGC when they used to have the perfect. They dropped to perfect. That was crazy. I don't think WATA will hurt themselves a long time with the 9.9. But I think CGC long-term will be hurt by the 9.9, if that makes sense.
Oh, CGC will be hurt by it.
Will be hurt by having the 9.9 once more time passes. I think once it's because it introduces the thing, and we see it already with video games, where people think the 9.9 is equivalent to the 9.8 anyway. The 9.8 is a 9.6 actually, right? Because there's one scale higher. So it's almost like people in their minds start doing that. Like imagine if CBCS had a 9.9. How many people would respect it higher than the CGC 9.8? Like if CGC didn't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, okay, higher numerical grade, but is it actually a better item? Is kind of how I see that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. There is some kind of...
It starts playing psychological games.
Yeah, it's a kind of mental gymnastic in a way.
It is. So then it's almost like, oh, what company do I just prefer? Oh, well, then their 9.8's better than a 9.9 anyway, because I like CGC or I like CBCS.
Yeah.
So I don't think the 9.9, I pray WATA never introduces it. The dumbest thing they could possibly do, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay, that's a solid answer.
Yeah. When PSA opens, I genuinely do think we will see a reholder special. I think we're going to see insanely competitive pricing. And I think that with these, like, again, right? So let's say PSA enters into comics at $20 a book. They could just loss lead this. They have the money. They have the infrastructure to just build up customer base, to build up submissions. You lose $2 a book for the first year. Who cares? You're going to have thousands and thousands and thousands of books in PSA holders, raise prices in 2027 or whatever to be the same as CGC. I just don't see how CGC wins back all of the goodwill they've lost in the next 5 years, let's say. Because that's like PSA's, it's going to take them time. Yeah. It's going to take time for PSA. Yeah. They have to have big selling books. They have to get big books in holders. Like, it's going to take time for them to develop this. But how does CGC, especially in the comics division, get back that goodwill? Can they?
Yeah, it's tough. And I've heard even last year when I was talking to some comic collector fans that they had some books very poorly pressed at CGC. And
it's funny, even me as a non-comic person, I've heard don't use CGC pressing.
Yeah.
Use a private.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, you have a bad experience like that where you get a book creased or something where the crease was never there before, then yeah, you're pretty disappointed, I think. It makes me wonder if PSA is going to have their own pressing system when they launch. I would expect that to be like a later edition.
Yeah, I would expect it later. I don't think they're going to bother with that right off the rip.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be more so just get books in holders, period.
Yeah.
Because I assume they'll be backlogged. Like, they'll get logged immediately, right? They have to. I think at this point there's, like I said, with how much goodwill CGC has lost, there has to be people holding out.
Yeah.
The announcement's made. Like, PSA Comics is coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And honestly, I like the way the cards look in the holders. I like the red and white labels. It's very minimalist, very non-intrusive.
You don't like the huge blue?
No, I never did. I never did.
I accept it on comics. Like, on video games, I was saying...
It's more established.
Yes, so in my brain, I'm like, oh, the blue comic is the good one. Yeah. So I think my brain has been taught to not even think about the blue. Mm-hmm. Where with video games, it's like, I grew up with VGA, and then WATA Games was also very neutral. Then it's like, oh, here's the big blue label. And it's like,
Yeah, it's also a surface area issue too. Like, games are so much smaller than comics when it comes to, like, area wise.
The label is almost half of the presentation.
Yeah, yes. Exactly. So
I agree with that. I hadn't thought about that. It's interesting.
Yeah, comics, like
the surface area effect.
Yeah, comics have such a larger area and smaller label relatively. So yeah, maybe it's more acceptable in that regard. But I have a feeling I'm gonna like PSA's.
Well, didn't you see it?
Yes, I did.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
it looks extremely sterile. I will say, like, it's. It's
the cards,
PSA label.
Yeah. The cards look that way too.
I'm not saying PSA's labels are beautiful. They just aren't huge blue.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't need to be beautiful though. Like, CGC has all these like special labels, like with like characters on them and stuff. And like, I don't care.
No. Did you see what Becca did with manga? Sorry,
yes.
manga.
Manga.
I'm a fan. Did you see the labels they designed with that? They have like 5 different labels you can choose from.
Yeah, they're like just different colors or something.
Yeah, well, it's like purely different. It's like one's cherry blossoms and one is like zoom effect lines. It's like, don't do this. Please, for the love of God, don't do this.
I think there is something to be said for continuity.
Oh, you can't have 5 different labels and one of them's pink. Yeah. And that's like what is that damaged? Like, what are you guys doing? But that's this is the reason we don't talk about Beckett much on this channel.
Yeah, money laundering. Yeah, if you really want to talk money laundering.
Like, whoa. Yeah. Oh, we're just talking about label design. Like, wow. Pull back.
Yeah. Who is the parent company, by the way?
Of Beckett?
Yeah.
I can't even tell you anymore.
Yeah, I just heard about the money laundering thing in Europe, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah, I can't even.
Yeah.
Beckett is so off my radar at this point that it's just like
and I was so close to submitting some manga to Beckett.
I did. I still did. Fuck
did?
it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still in.
I mean, who
They're
else
the
do you
only
go
one
with?
they're the only people in town.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm hoping to be able to flip a little bit of stuff, and that is all I will use them for. They are the only people who do it. I'm not happy about it. But again, it goes back to what I talked about, where if they are going to get the most money, or they are the ones that do it, grading companies kind of have us by the balls. Because if you want to interact in the market, you got to pay to play. And I hate it myself. I do. But I am a victim. I am
self-imposed victim.
Yeah, I'm part of the problem.
Yeah.
And I know that. I am part of the problem with allowing grading companies to bully the customers, because I still want to exist in this ecosystem. And I don't know how to get away from that.
I don't think
without grading like dissipating in its entirety.
Yeah, and I don't think you really can get away from it as long as you rely on reselling to
I guess
going.
Have more money. I guess that's my have more money.
Yeah, literally, if you grade stuff and it's on your shelf forever, who cares?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But let us know. PSA Comics is coming. CGC is raised its prices. Does this affect you wanting to submit the CGC? Are you holding out for PSA Comics? I'm really curious on that as well. Rate and review if you're listening to audio. Comment on the YouTube. Hit the like. It all helps out. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.